Hello Year 6, it's nice to send you a message and go through your maths with you. So this is how we're going to be doing maths until we obviously go back to school. So we're going to be doing online learning and looking at and breaking it down together. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going back and looking at fractions, okay? So we're going to come looking at recapping different parts of fractions and getting you obviously ready for when you come back, and then when you'll go off to Year 7, which is not long now, very exciting. So the first thing we're going to look at recapping is converting fractions between improper and mixed, okay? So just recapping fractions to start, all right, remembering, so if we have a fraction, we have 1/4, that a fraction is part of a whole, okay? So it's remembering that actually that fraction is part of a whole, all right, and that's what we need to remember going forward, okay? So the next thing we need to just recap and remind ourselves, so if we have a quarter, is the two things. So the top part is the numerator, okay, and then the bottom part is obviously our denominator, okay? So they're the two things that we need to remember about our fraction, and they both tell us different things, all right? So the denominator, this is important because this is what we're going to be breaking the whole down into. Okay, so for example, if we add a whole this time, we're going to be breaking it down into 4 equal parts, and it's remembering that actually that all of those parts are equal, all right? They're not different in any sort of way, they're all equal, okay? And then this part, the numerator, will be telling us actually of how many of those parts that has been broken into we have. So in this case, it would be 1, all right? So let's get straight into it and just look at the difference first of all. So just reminding ourselves the difference between an improper fraction, and a mixed number. Okay, so an improper fraction, just to remind ourselves, all right, is a fraction where the numerator, all right, is top heavy. And we say it's top heavy because it's more than the denominator, which tells us actually we've actually got this time more than the whole, okay? Whereas a mixed number, we often represent the whole as a larger number next to the fraction, and then we have the fraction next to it. So in this case, I have 1 whole and 2/3, whereas in the improper fraction, I have 7/3, okay? And it's being able to convert between both of those. All right, so that's what we're going to be looking at today. So if we start off first of all with improper fractions, okay? So if we look at improper, so we've got an improper fraction. If we use the one that I just put, so if this time if we have 7/3, all right? So it's working out actually how are we going to convert that to a mixed number. So if we look at this first of all, remember a fraction represents how much we have, well, it's part of a whole, okay? So if we draw a whole first of all using our bars, and this is what I want you to use when we work at this. Okay, we've got our whole, and what we're doing is we're using our denominator, and this tells us how many equal parts we're splitting that bar into, okay? So we're going to be splitting it into 3 equal parts, all right? If we just excuse Mr. K's drawing a little bit, we've got 3 equal parts, all right? So if I just make that more equal on that side, so we've got 3 equal parts, and then what it's telling us, the numerator, is it's telling us how many equal parts that we've actually got. So we've got 7. So we've got 1, 2, 3 there, okay? Now, obviously we've got more than a whole this time, okay? So we need to draw another whole, and again break it into 3 equal parts. All right, because remember we've got 7, so we've got 1 whole there, and we've got 1, 2, 3 parts, 4, 5, 6, okay, and we've still got some left over, so we would draw another whole, okay, and break it into our 3 equal parts, and we've got 1 left over because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we've got 7 there, okay? So we've represented our 7 parts of 3, okay, using our bars. Now, we can then start to think of actually a number sentence we've got for this, okay, to be able to convert it into a mixed number. So we can then start to linking things that we know. So here we've got 3 parts out of 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. But actually, we know that's equal to or equivalent to 1 whole. Okay, the same for this one. Again, we've got 3 parts out of 3, but we know that's equal to or equivalent to 1 whole, because again, we've got the whole. So we've got 2 wholes there. And on this one, we've got 1 part of 3. So if we put it underneath and take it down, okay, we've got 2 wholes. We add our wholes together as a larger number. And we've got our 1/3 here. So 7/3, if we go back up, is equal to 2 whole and 1/3. Okay, and then we've converted it using our bars. All right, if we look at another example, and again on this one we'll look at converting it between improper and mixed. So again, we're looking at improper. All right, so this time we might have 6 quarters. Okay, so again, we know it's improper because the top part of the fraction is top heavy, it's larger than the bottom, so we know we've actually got more than a whole this time. Okay, and now we're going to convert it to a mixed number. So again, we're going to go through the process. Okay, so first of all, we're going to draw our whole, because remember, the fraction is telling us how many parts of that whole that we actually have. So we've got our whole, and then the denominator is telling us how many equal parts we're splitting the whole into. So we're going to split it into 4 equal parts. Okay, now of those 4 equal parts, we've obviously got 6. So again, we colour in, we've got 4 there, 1, 2, 3, 4. Obviously, we know we've got more than 4. Okay, so we're drawing another whole next to it. All right, again, we're splitting it into 4 equal parts. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to get to 6, so we've got 2 left over, 5, 6. Okay, and then we can start to think about the number sentence we're going to form underneath. So underneath, we can represent this as a fraction and a whole. So we've got 4 parts of 4, which is also equal to or equivalent to 1 whole. And then over here, we've got 1, 2 parts of 4 left over. Okay, so we've got our mixed number there. We've got 1 whole and 2 quarters. Okay, so 6 quarters is equivalent to, as a mixed number, 1 whole and 2 quarters. Okay, and then some of you might already be spotting that actually 2 quarters is actually equal to 1/2. All right, so we've converted there between an improper fraction and a mixed number. Now, if we were to convert it the other way, we'd do something very, very similar. Okay, and we'd look at using our bar to form our number sentences. Okay, so this time I've got 1 whole and 1/3. Okay, so I've got 1 whole, 1/3. So this is my mixed number, and we want to convert it to and know what it's equal to as an improper fraction. So this time we're going the other way, and we want to convert it to a top-heavy fraction. All right, so let's break it down first of all. Right, remember, a fraction is a part of a whole number, but we've actually got a whole this time. So what we're going to do is draw the whole using our bars. Okay, if we use our bars in our learning, all right, we're splitting it into 3 equal parts, which is what our denominator is telling us. And obviously the whole represents, we've got all 3 parts. Okay, if this was a chocolate bar, we'd have all 3 parts in order for us to say we have the whole. So we've represented that whole there. Okay, now if we were to represent the fraction next to it, again, we're going to draw the whole. All right, we're going to split the whole into 3 equal parts. And of those equal parts, we know we've got 1. Okay, and now we can start to look at how we're going to form our number sentence. So we know this is worth a whole, but it's actually equal to 1, 2, 3. 3 parts of 3. Okay, and on this one, we've only got 1 part of 3. So then what we can do is we can add them together. Okay, remembering our learning that we don't add the denominators stay the same. And this time 3 add 1 equals 4. Okay, so we've got our improper fraction because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So 1 1/3 is equal to 4/3. And that's our improper fraction. Okay, now if we were to break it down and have to look at one more example before we move on to the do it. So this time I'm going to have 2 wholes, okay, and 1/4. All right, so again, this is our mixed number. So it's how we're going to convert this into our improper fraction. Okay, so we start off with the same process. We need to first of all represent this 2 wholes. Okay, so we're going to draw a hole underneath. Using our bars. Okay, this is telling us the denominator, what we're splitting our whole into. So we're splitting it into 4 equal parts. Okay, and we've got all parts obviously if we've got a whole. All right, so that's our first whole. And remember, we've got 2. So we draw our second hole next to it. Again, we're splitting our whole into 4 equal parts. And again, we've got all of those parts because it's a whole. All right, and then we've represented our 2 wholes. Now what we can do is represent our fraction next to it. So again, once more, we're going to draw a hole. Splitting our whole into 4 equal parts again. Okay, and of those equal parts, this time our numerator is telling us that we've got 1. Okay, and then what we can do is we can form our number sentence like we've been doing. So although this is worth a whole, it's also worth 1, 2, 3, 4. It's worth 4 parts out of 4. Okay, this one again is worth 4 parts out of 4. And on this one, we've only got 1 part of 4, or 1/4. Okay, and then we just need to add them together. Going back to our prior learning, we don't add the denominator, so the denominator stays as 4. 4 add 4 is 8, add 1 is 9. So we've converted it into our top heavy fraction. So 2 1/4 is worth 9/4 as an improper fraction. Okay, and then we've converted between both. So let's just have a quick look at a do it. So overall learning still online, you're going to have a do it, apply it and solve it. Okay, just remember to pause the video after the do it so you can then look at your answers on the next slide after you've done them, so check if they're correct, and the same with the apply it and then the solve it. So let's just look at the do it together. Right, we've got our first question, which is convert the images below into a mixed number and improper fraction. So you've got to represent it as both. So if we have a look at the picture they've used, they've got circles this time and they've broken it down into 8. So, all right, so they've got 3 holes because they've got all pieces of 8 on those 3. And on this one, okay, they've got 7 parts of the 8. So if we were to draw that, just if we go through it together before you have a go. So we've got 3 holes, okay, and 7 parts of 8. So that would be our mixed number, but we obviously need to convert that, all right, to an improper fraction as well. So again, we can just go through the same process, all right. What does this 3 hole represent? So we draw the hole, all right, and we split it into, I'll just make it a bit bigger, make it a bit easier. All right, so we draw the hole and we're going to split it into 8 equal parts, okay? So there's 4 equal parts. So we split it again. There's our 8 equal parts. And we know that we've got all 8 of those equal parts to represent 1 hole. So then we need to draw another hole. Again, we're splitting it into 8 equal parts. And again, we've got all 8 parts for our second hole. We need to do our third hole. If we just do it underneath. So again, we're splitting it into 8 equal parts. And again, we've got all 8 equal parts. Okay, so we've got our 3 hole represented here. And then we've got our 7/8. So for one last time, we're going to draw our hole. Okay, we're going to split it into 8 equal parts. But this time we haven't got all 8 equal parts. That's not equal, Mr. K, so that would be wrong. Okay, we've only got 7, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, because we haven't got the whole this time. All right, and then we can start to build our number sentence, exactly like we've been doing to work out the improper fraction. So we've got 8 parts out of 8 here. Add 8 parts out of 8 there. Add 8 parts out of 8 there. Add our 7 parts of 8 there. Okay, we know we keep the denominator the same. All right, so we add 8 is 16. Add another 8, okay, is 24, Mr. K's favourite number. Add a 7 is 31. All right, and then we've worked out the do it, okay? So have a go at the rest of the do it. Pause the video at the end and then have a look at the answers on the next page. On to the apply it, so I'll go through the apply it with you. So this is an example apply it, all right, but it's very similar to the one that you've got. So if you watch example video 2, which this is now, and then we'll go through this and you can have a go at the apply it by yourself. So this time we've got Frankie says 3 2/3 as an improper fraction is 9/3. So we need to check if she's right, okay? So Frankie says that she's got 3 wholes and 2/3, and we need to change that obviously in to an improper fraction, because Frankie said at the moment it is 9/3, so we need to check if she's correct. Okay, so we go through the same process as what we've been doing. We first of all represent our 3 wholes, so we've got our 3 wholes. Okay, our wholes are being split into 3 equal parts, and obviously if it's a whole we've got all 3. So there's our first whole. There's our second whole. Again, it's split into 3 equal parts and we've got all 3. And then we've got our third whole. Because remember, we've got 3 wholes here. And we've got all 3 equal parts again. So we've represented our 3 wholes. Okay. Right, let's have a look at what's left over. Right, we've got 2/3. So again, we draw the whole. Okay, we split our whole into 3 equal parts, but this time we've only got 2. Okay, and now we can form our number sentence, because over here we've got 3 parts of 3. Add another 3 parts of 3. Add another 3 parts of 3. And add 2 parts of 3 here. Okay, so if we added them all up, remember that our fraction will stay out of 3 because we don't add the denominators. So 3 add 3 is 6, add another 3 is 9, add another 2 is 11. Okay, so our improper fraction is 11/3. So we know that actually Frankie was wrong. All right, have a go at the next apply it. It's very similar, and then move on to the solve it.